Welcome back to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia Jay, and I'm here with Ashley Nicole Moss.
Hello. Sorry for making everybody wait. I know you guys have been waiting a while for us. I kind of feel like what Beyonce does to me every time I see her in concert. So now I know what it feels like, and it doesn't feel good.
She doesn't make us wait that long, Ashley.
Girl, Beyonce made me wait 90 minutes before she graced us with her presence.
What? Yeah. She came out on time for me?
In Miami, she made Renaissance tour. She waited. I was counting. It was 70 minutes. And we were like, girl, choppity chop, okay? Yeah. But we are here. We've decompressed the draft. There's a lot to talk about. But before we do that, Alicia, regular reminders. We'll run through these real quick because I know y'all want to get to the good stuff. All of these social channels below, especially now that we are getting very close to the tip-off of the WNBA season. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming your way on the social channels. Don't want to miss that. Also, make sure you're subscribed, notifications turned all the way up, because when we go live like this, whenever we have episodes, full-length episodes that drop on YouTube and all the other special things that we do in between, you'll be the first to know. And then scan this QR code here, and we will pop up wherever you get your pods. We're on Spotify and we're on Apple. So look, a lot of ways to be connected with us right here at We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.
Yeah, make sure that you are tapped in, because we have a lot of WNBA coverage coming up, including tonight. We're going to be talking about the draft and everything that just happened. Now, after much conversation, will Paige go to Dallas? Will she end up somewhere else? What's going to happen? Paige is indeed drafted number 1 overall to the Dallas Wings and will be going there. Ashley, we knew this, but, there was just a little bit of question
in the WNBA.
Yeah. there was just a little bit of question on if she would stay there, right? But I think we've got our answer now, obviously. So what are your initial thoughts when seeing her being drafted number 1 overall by the Wings?
First of all, she's having herself a day. She signed her contract with Unrivaled for over $300,000, and then she goes number 1 in the WNBA draft. She had 2 fits, not 1, but 2. She looked phenomenal. I've been following Paige's career since the very beginning, since her start at UConn. And I feel like we all kind of feel the way that I'm about to say this. It's like a little sister in a sense. We've seen her go through so much, battling back from injury. We've seen her fall short of winning the whole thing. We've seen her battle injury at the worst possible time. And I feel like we've all kind of been rooting for her, and we feel connected to her in a way. And we've been part of her collegiate journey for so long that it kind of feels like we all got drafted together. And I feel like I was at the table with her. It was really cool to see it happen. Gino was there. UConn came out. Like, they came out for their dog, which I love. Yes. That is squad energy.
I love that she did it last year too. She did it for them she did it for the players last year, and they came out in full effect for her.
I just absolutely love seeing it. It just made me really happy. She's a player I just feel so connected to, just again, from watching her for so long and really just rooting for her. Like, I'm really rooting for her, even though, I'm a Liberty girl, I'm not a Wings girl, but I really just want to see her win. And that's what I just felt watching. I just felt happiness for her, really.
Yeah, not only do I want to see her win, but I really want to see the Wings win too. Arike win. There are players that have been putting in their time in that franchise. It's actually a really good city, a really good basketball city to be in. And they do have some work to do in that front office for sure. But, they have Dejanay Carrington now. There's a lot of pieces that they have put in place, along with the moves that they've done in the front office. And I want to see the franchise win overall, because there's been there's been phases where it's like, oh, they could really be doing something, but to have Paige there, players like Dejanay we're talking about, I just want, in addition to seeing Paige win, I want to see the franchise win too. So I think it's a win-win on both fronts. The front office just has to get in line.
Was that shade when you said a really good basketball city? You know we play football there too, right? I'm just saying. Was that shade?
No shade, but if you want to take it like that, Ashley.
Should I cover this? Was that shade? Like, damn.
Yeah, it really wasn't. I guess
not September yet. Don't hurt me like that. I got a few more months before I got to feel the pain again. I was just like,
maybe I should say sports, just sports in general. Is that better?
put that out there. We do have a team.
Definitely. There is a team for sure. It's okay. You know, it's gonna be all right, Ashley. No one was attacking your team. It's all right. Listen, my god baby's name is Dallas after
love that name.
The Cowboys. So
such a cute name. Love
legit.
It.
So I'm not trying to down. It was my dad's favorite team. So it's okay.
Yes. Love it. All right, just making sure. You know I'm a little sensitive about my boys.
Another thing that I really loved about Paige is just like the list that she's on of UConn players that have been number one overall picks from UConn. I mean, listen, Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, Tina Charles, Breanna Stewart, like that is amazing to be in. They didn't have a number one overall pick from UConn since Breanna Stewart in 2016. So to see her become that and to be on that list was also amazing.
Yeah, loved it. I mean, again, I just feel like we've all been part of her journey for so long. So to see her get to this point, this is definitely special. And speaking of special moments require special fits. And just like last year's WNBA draft, the girls came out and put it on. And there's so many looks that we can dive into. We're going to dive into our favorites. And when we were constructing this list, I know that Emma was like, Ashley, add some of your picks. Alicia basically covered all of my picks. We have
the same taste. Look at us right now. We have the same stuff going on.
One of the people we were just talking about them, Paige Bueckers, she had not one but two fits. Okay, she said, "This is my moment. I'm gonna put it on." Loved this outfit. In our group chat, I actually was telling everyone that I have this bag. And Emma goes, "Oh, so you were her style inspo." I was like, "Yeah, let's not get crazy. I can't wear it now because she wore it so well." But I loved it. You mentioned the tailoring. It was tailored to perfection on her. And I loved the hair, the boho wave kind of look, very different from how we are kind of used to seeing her hair in the signature 2 braids ponytail situation. I love this hair on her, by the way. She needs to wear this more often.
She said that her mom told her that it was the prettiest she's ever looked, and she was really emotional. And I was like, I don't know how to feel about that, Mom, but I will just say, I don't think she was trying to be shady, but regardless, Paige looked impeccable to me. I love that she had like a little shimmer and shine, but it wasn't too much, right? And she had it on both fits. I will say this. I did like the first one better than the second one. I just felt like it was tailored more to her body. But I mean, perfection. This first look, especially, I was like, Paige came as the number one overall pick. Okay, she was not playing games. So,
and I feel you. I don't even think the outfit change was necessary. I just feel like this was such a draft suit. You know, it's sparkly, it's fitted, it's fly. The hair was amazing. She even changed her hair with the second look. It was back a little bit, and I don't even know if I would have changed fits. This was great. It's not topping her all white look from the year she didn't get drafted. She was just there for the vibes.
She was there for the vibes, and she killed it. I think she was the most talked about player that year too, like one of the top players. But I will also say this. Not only did Paige come to play, but the whole UConn team, I don't know if you guys saw, but the whole team that was there, like all of the players that were there killed it. Like they just look so good from the top to the bottom. Like I hope they took a lot of group pictures because the fits were fitting. They were fitting.
Yes. Bunch of other looks to get to. Kiki looked phenomenal. Oh my gosh. She looked like Princess Jasmine if Princess Jasmine was Nigerian. It was beautiful. Nigerian designer. The blonde suits her so well. Just the right amount of roots to kind of make sure it blends evenly. Just the gold, the dress fit her beautifully. The makeup was perfect. I interviewed her at the Big Ten Media Day. She is such a pretty girl. She has such an infectious smile. Even when she's like dressed down, she is such a pretty girl. And this is just, I have no notes. She looked beautiful. And her family put it on too. Okay, don't play with the Nigerians. They came out.
Whole table. Everybody were not playing games. I also want to say she is really into fashion. She said in the pre-show that she wants to walk a New York Fashion Week runway. And I'm like, put her on.
She told me that in Big Ten Media Day as well. I asked her.
Put her on.
I asked her about what she was looking forward to, and that's what she said. She's like, outside of basketball, I'm coming for the fashion game. I said, okay, girl.
Yes, and she did not play today. She showed the world exactly what she wants to do, not only in basketball, but in fashion as well. So this was, 12 out of 10.
And again, she has the face for me. And has the face for it. Such a pretty girl, really. Yeah. Isaiah James also put it on, and she had a cool fit. This is very more avant-garde. This looks like something Russell Westbrook would wear. This is very Russell Westbrook-esque to me. I think it's cool. I think it's different. I like it. You know what I mean? I know it's not a simple dress or a suit or whatever that a lot of people could see themselves in, but like pulled it off. The hair was a great pick, is like a great selection as well. The hair and the chrome glasses to kind of offset the black. I can't see what shoes she has on, but I liked it. I thought it was dope. It was cool. Oh, there we go. Yeah, with the ruffles. I'm here for it.
Yes. Okay. Ruffle socks. Didn't see that part, but I will say that I love this because it was her. She said she wanted something that expressed her personality, that she was comfortable in, that she would, just wear, at any point in time. And you could just see how comfortable she was in it. And that's what fashion is really all about, is expressing who you are. And I just loved everything about it, down to the details. I mean, even the ruffled socks, which I didn't see earlier, totally go with this look.
With the white laces on the loafers too. Very cool. I like this. This is dope.
I really love it. And I feel like next to Kiki, she would be my winner. Kiki is my overall winner for sure. But I love the lines. I love everything about this look. So one of my favorites for sure.
I said this looks like something Russell Westbrook would wear, and I mean that with the utmost respect. He's one of my best dressed NBA players of all time, and he was in the building. He wasn't there walking the carpet, but he was there because he actually designed an outfit for Georgia Amore. Now, this is the first time that a WNBA athlete is wearing a brand from an NBA athlete. So Honor Thy Gift is Russell Westbrook's brand. Actually, really great pieces. I would definitely recommend to check it out if you haven't. They have like a lot of cool fits and co-ords if you're into like matching sets and stuff like that. But I thought this was cute. I liked it. I think that, again, it looks like it just kind of fits her style, her swag. I like that she didn't do a heel. She did kind of like a loafer. I see loafers are a big thing at this year's WNBA draft, and that's because heels are uncomfortable. They suck. They're not fun to wear.
They do. And Georgia Amore actually said pregame that was one of her must-haves, was that she was not wearing a heel. And so I'm so glad that they incorporated what she wanted into the look. She looked so comfortable. She even said she's usually a gold girl, but she put on silver for this and just felt like everything came together with that. So I love it. And I also love that an athlete is styling an athlete. And I feel like we will see that, even NBA and WNBA aside, I feel like we're going to see more of that type of synergy coming up, because athletes are so multifaceted. They have so many things going. They have so many things that they want to do that I just think we're going to see more of this type of like athlete styling athlete, or athlete, doing something for another athlete in the future, because there's so many things that athletes are doing now. So, and maybe they have always done it, but now it's like there's room for them to be able to pursue multiple things at once with their brands. So
I also think it's cool too, because Westbrook has a direct connection to women's basketball. Obviously, his wife Nina was an athlete at UCLA. They've been very supportive of their Bruins, both on the men and the women's side. Russell Westbrook's been a big advocate for the WNBA as a whole. So I just think it's a very cool merging of the two worlds and a continued progression of the two worlds. So I love this. And I hope we see, not every NBA athlete has a line, but hopefully we can see more collabs like this in the future. Now, speaking of collabs, there are some other looks that we'll get to real quick. HVL, Haley Van Lith, put it on in a custom Coach dress, stunning hair. Now, I actually knew what the look was going to be ahead of time. My good friend Victoria actually styled this, so I kind of knew that Coach was making a little custom thing for her. So she looked phenomenal. The hair is very old Hollywood. I don't know if you saw the barrettes in the hair. They were like diamond bows almost. And I think also the dress just really accentuates her body and hugs her in the right way. You know, when you're an athlete, sometimes you have parts of your body that are more muscular. You have parts of your body, you know, that look a certain way. And I think it takes a certain person to kind of see the vision and bring out the beauty of what your figure looks like, because strong is beautiful. And I think this dress did that. It showed off her legs, which she has great legs, and I think she looks phenomenal. It's simple, but it's not. So shout out to her, shout out to the team. And yeah, she looks great. Great time for her and her draft debut, if you will.
Yeah, she looks amazing. Also, in addition, this dress really photographed well. And whoever coached her on how to pose on the orange carpet did a great job, because literally every single photo that came out from her was perfection. And it's really hard. Like, if you haven't ever been on a red carpet or orange carpet before, all of those people taking photos of you, just imagine all the angles that they're getting and everything. But if you looked on, Getty or wherever all the photos were going, literally every photo was amazing. She knew how to hit all of those angles, which was really awesome, because it is hard to do. That's one of the hardest things about doing like a red or orange carpet. So yeah, and this is also a look too where she's gonna look back in 10 years or whatever and just think, oh, I just looked amazing, because it's a classic look with like a little bit of a twist, and it's just polished, and it's one of those looks that is never going to go out of style.
And you can kind of, this is the fashion girly in me thinking, you can actually rewear this and restyle this for something else. Like, this is Absolutely. Such a versatile dress that this can kind of be tweaked, and you can even take the sleeves off of it and make it into a completely different look. You can make it off the shoulder. This is a dress that you keep and you just kind of rework and style different ways. So she did great. So there's so many looks, Alicia, that we can get through, but we're going to do a little comparison real quick.
Oh boy.
Obviously, this is the 2025 WNBA Draft, but I was at the 2024 WNBA Draft, and I remember the looks that came out of that draft, okay? Now, for those of you who don't remember, it was Kaitlyn Clark, and I believe it was custom Prada or Louis Vuitton. Don't quote me on that. Prada. It was Angel Reese in her Bronx and Boa see-through sequence hooded dress.
She had to do last minute too. That's another. Minute.
Yes. There was Nika Mule in it, Paige in her all white. She wasn't even getting drafted. All right. So knowing the looks, are you going 2024? Are you going 2025?
I am going 2024.
Same.
No doubt. No doubt. I mean, hats off to all the looks tonight. They were great, but I like the variation last year. There was a lot of black this year, and I don't know if that was like a thing they told them to wear.
Hey, man.
No offense.
New York.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I do love a black look, like an all black look. I obviously do. But just a little bit more coming down that orange carpet, I thought we were going to see. That's why one of the reasons why I really loved Kiki's was she wore a neutral, but it still popped. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And I don't know if Kiki was the only one who killed it, Omega, JC Supreme. But
in fairness, though, I will say this. Orange is a really hard color to dress for. So, I don't know if the stylist from this season or this draft season. Oh yeah, Rakia.
We even forgot about Cam and Rakia. It was last year.
It was fire.
No offense.
But I will say, I don't know if a lot of, because I remember seeing a lot of the outfits in person that were like, wow, and then they didn't photograph that well. Orange is a really tough background, and then it's an orange wall, an orange carpet. So I don't know if the stylists were like, let's go with the safest color and make that as flary and swaggy as we can, because black photographs against orange really well. And I don't know if that was like a conscious effort, like let's not make it a color issue. Let's just kind of figure it out to kind of be safe. Because imagine if someone would have showed up in like green or like something like, you know what I mean? Like there's some colors that you just can't wear.
That's a great point. I will say Paige had a deep purple on, so she got purple. You know
but
what I'm
it
saying?
photographed black almost.
But it did.
You know?
But you're right, Ashley. That is something to think about, the orange carpet for sure. Regardless, people shut it down in both years. They 1000% did. And now that we have graded the style, let's give grades for every team that had a first round draft pick. So are you ready for this? There was a lot of picks, obviously, in the first round. So we're going to go down. So number 1 overall, Dallas Wings, Paige Bueckers. What grade do you give for that?
A.
When you, this is the only move you could do, number 1. The whole world would be mad at you if you didn't pick Paige, number 1 overall. And also a phenomenal pick on every single level. I give it an A+ for sure. I mean,
we can do plus. I was just going A, B, C, D. Oh, okay, cool. So A+.
Yeah. You can throw in a minus if you need to. I'm down with that. So you got to give them an A+ for that. There's really no other. Absolutely. They did what they came to do and were supposed to do. Period. So what about now this one right here? The Seattle Storm, Dominique Malonga. Like what is your pick, or what is your grade rather for that?
I'm also going A, and I'll tell you why. We spoke about her in our last pod, the comparisons to Victor Wembanyama, the fact that she's only 19 years old, her perimeter skills, her size, her athleticism. These are intangibles. These are things you cannot teach. These are things that are just given. They're talent. I don't know what's going on in France. I don't know how they keep cranking out these players. But when I go to France in August, if I come back 7 feet tall, don't ask me no questions. But I also just think when you talk about Seattle, you talk about a team that has veteran leadership, but I also think they're consciously preparing for the future as well. And I think that is so smart. They're building a chemistry, they're building a culture in Seattle that can exist way beyond Skylar Diggins-Smith, can exist way beyond the vets that they have on their team, and really just continue the ball running. She is a generational type player. She is a unicorn. I just saw somebody put in the chat, she can dunk. Like, hey, come on now. If it wasn't for
throw it down. Yes. She can throw it down, Ashley.
Let me tell you something, Alicia. If it wasn't for Paige Bueckers being in this draft, she probably could have gone number 1. She's that good.
Well, and that's why I would give it an A++++. I personally think that Seattle won the draft because obviously Paige is an amazing player. This is not downing her in any way, but they essentially got a number 1 overall pick at number 2, in my opinion. So she is literally only 19 years old, I believe.
Yes, 19.
Not even, I mean, her talent is already out of this world, and she still hasn't even tapped like half of what she probably can with her overall talent. I also love her confidence. She said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but even though people were saying that Paige was going to be a lock at number 1, that she still had hope that she could be because of her talent and who she is. And I love her all the way around. She also talks about how literally after her basketball career, she wants to have a career in technology. She has plans on every single level. I just love her as an overall player. Larry R said that she reminds me of Tina Charles. There's a little bit of Tina in there for sure. She's actually a player that I think we will look back and just say that players play like her. That's really what I see in the future for her. So Seattle Storm, you did that. And a lot of their moves in the offseason, you did that too, because they had a hand kind of dealt to them and they had to make some moves around that. And they've done that beautifully, in my opinion. And I hope that it translates onto the court for them. Now, let's go to the Washington Mystics. They had quite a few picks, so we're just going to not go pick by pick and more team by team moving forward. But what are your thoughts? I mean, they are in need of 2 starters, Ashley. They only have 3 starters on lock right now. So what do you think, given that, what your grade would be for them?
I love their picks, and I'll tell you why. I think when you're a team like the Mystics and you're kind of starting from ground zero again, there's so much room to make a team that you want, to make a team that is different from the team that you've had that maybe didn't work the way that you wanted them to work. You're essentially taking a piece of paper that has like some scribbles on it, but you're drawing a brand new picture. You're building a brand new culture. You're building a team in a way that you envision it in your mind, but you have the picks to do it. And I think that all of their choices fill a void that they need. And I think all of their choices have the potential to exist within this organization for many years to come. And that's what you want. You don't want to just think short term. And I think the benefit of the Mystics is nobody's expecting them to win a championship. Nobody's even expecting them to go deep, or some may say even make the playoffs at all. So you have a team that has the benefit of developing kind of outside of the light. And I think especially when you're talking about young players who are making that transition, and the transition's hard. I mean, Caitlin Clark, one of the best players we've ever seen, it was hard for her to make that transition from the collegiate game to the professional game. And it took her a while to get acclimated. And she was doing it with an insane microscope on her. I mean, the conversations, we were talking about some of them. Everyone was saying, is she overrated? Is she a butt? The Mystics are not going to have that issue. They're going to be able to fail. They're going to be able to learn. They're going to be able to grow. And they're going to be able to do it kind of outside the limelight. And I think that is such a benefit for rookies coming into this league.
Absolutely. And there was a comment that we had up here that they low-key have a squad. Yes. Only Morale, I think, said the Mystics have a squad low-key if Georgia Amoore is who she is. And that was who I was going to bring up, is they got Georgia Amoore, who is a fantastic player. I think the way that her team played and kind of how they went out early in the tournament didn't really bode well for her. But I think it made her a sleeper pick in my mind because people weren't looking directly at her, but she is a dog. Like, Georgia Amoore is such a good player, and I feel like they got an excellent pickup with her. Not to mention the other players, Kiki Arioffen. I mean, look, her alone, what we saw her do in the tournament and the player that we know that she is, was great. I mean, overall, I'd give them a solid A, just because of what they need, the things that they need to fill. And I feel like when they had their picks, they picked the best person for the team at that pick. So I would give them an overall A.
Yeah,
for sure. Now, Golden State Valkyries, listen, this was a team that everybody was kind of looking to see who they would pick. They had an expansion draft, but this is the first official draft that they've had. And, I mean, they are not a team that shies away from international players. As a matter of fact, they invite international players. I believe I think they have 9 players now, 10 on their current roster that are international players. And they picked Yuste Yosite. And man, that's an amazing pickup, if you ask me. One of the international players that has been on everyone's radar. Some people had her going higher in the draft. So I feel like at that point, they did really do a good pick. Not many people thought that Golden State might pick her, but if you look at their roster and what they're building, it makes sense to me. What do you think, Ashley?
Yeah, I give this a B, and I'll tell you why. I did think they were going to go and get Morrow. I think we all kind of were talking about that. A lot of the mock drafts had her going 5. I'm surprised she didn't go top 5. I am surprised that with the Valkyries being a brand new organization, that they're not leaning more evenly in terms of vets and rookies or sophomores or younger players, right? And what I mean by that is kind of like I'm saying with the Mystics, where I said with the Mystics, where you have an opportunity to start from scratch. It's the same thing in Golden State, right? You have an opportunity to build a culture, and you have an opportunity to get players that not only can provide veteran leadership in the locker room, but to get players that can one day be the vets to the next wave that comes in. And my only thing that I'm kind of thrown off about what the Valkyries are doing, it seems they're leaning heavily on experience and vets and people who have skin in the game, if you will. And they're not really a team that seems interested, at least right now, in developing younger talent and teaching younger talent, which is interesting to me because unless they think that they're winning a chip this season, I wonder what the rush is. You know, they're kind of moving like a team where the time is ticking and you only got a couple of more seasons left until like your championship roster is retiring or going. They're moving with a very fast pace for a team that has kind of all the time in the world. So unless their timeline's different than the rest of ours, I'm surprised they don't have a little bit more young talent on their team.
Oh, I think their timeline is very different than what you're saying
Clearly.
specifically. They want to win right away. I mean, if you
Mhm.
know anything about the Golden State Warriors, anything about Joe Lacob, anything about the way that front office works, I mean, I kind of know because I worked there for 13 years, but they're not looking to build, they're looking to win. And I don't care, what, if it's the first year, second year, third year, it's always an expectation. So I'm not shocked by this. I mean, they're building a roster that has, like you said, experience, people who have been there. They're bringing in some young players. Like I love that they drafted Kaitlyn Chen as well, and we'll talk a little bit more about her in another segment of the show. But
Mhm.
and, from if you look at all their rosters, the European contingent that they have,
Yeah.
they're definitely a team to watch that is going to come in and try to make marks right away. Someone called them the most interesting team to watch this year because of all of that. And so
I do
I
think
don't know.
though, I do think it's interesting though, because this team could look drastically different next year. So to me, I mean, I guess that kind of leads more to your point of like they're trying to win now because the team's going to look different next year. A lot of free agents, new CBA, you're going to have another draft. So to your point, yeah, this might be a one and done situation with this roster. Like y'all better win because this team's going to look different in 365. So you're probably right there.
Yeah, but they also, if I could be wrong, Emily could fact check this, but they have a lot of cap space. They can attack a lot of
Whole
the
lot.
free agency players and all of that. So it's like they're looking to win, now, but also they have the room and ability to even get better. So, and I think the whole league is going to look different, especially with the new CBA and everything coming up too. Everything is going to be kind of different than what we can see. But yeah, Golden State, very, very interesting for sure. Now, the Connecticut Sun have a lot that they need to do. That's an understatement. They've had a lot of questionable moves in the offseason, I would say. And so seeing what they did in the draft, what would you grade them, Ashley?
I like what Connecticut did. I'm gonna go B plus here, just because they lost a lot. This off season's a lot of moves. This is a team that we were just talking about a few seasons ago with the possibility to win the whole thing. And they've since those conversations have kind of gotten a little bit further away. And now this past offseason, it's completely drastically different. They are making, I think, the move of getting more on your roster. They said, oh, okay, Golden State, you want to play games? We'll take that. Love that for them. Great pickup. I'm saying B plus because I don't know if both of these players put them over back to that competitive or drastically competitive edge that we once thought when we thought the Connecticut Sun, but they make them a lot better and they're putting them in the right direction. So I'm going to go B plus. I can't give it a full A for that reason.
Yeah, I'm going to go B, solid B for me. I think that they got exactly who they wanted in the draft picks that, they got. Obviously Rivers and Morrow are amazing players that are going to be good for any roster, especially the Sun who needs a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll make an immediate impact, which will be good for them, right? It'll be good for those players going in. That's what you want to
Mhm.
do as a player going in. So definitely looking forward to that. I think there's an overall like conundrum for me of like, what are you doing? So it kind of, I think it's tainting my grade a little bit just because they're forever a little bit questionable in my eyes of like their moves in general. But what I will say, maybe I'll go B+ too, because they did get, two amazing players. And, maybe if we're just grading the draft, which is what we're doing, I'll give them a plus too. But Abby's Sports Picks and Analysis said Connecticut will scale back this year, even with Morrow and Rivers, but the future is bright going forward. All right. Come on, Abby. So let's pivot to Los Angeles. So they're looking to make the playoffs after missing 4 straight. They're looking for depth in the wing spot, so they get that in Barker. Really amazing two-way player. Good beyond the arc, good off the ball cutter. Defensively, held opponents to 23% shooting from the field. So what did you think about this pick overall?
They like tall blondes in LA. That I will say. That's like
that they do.
They love them some tall blondes in Los Angeles. I'm a little confused about this pick. I think Sarah Ashley Barker, great player for all the reasons you mentioned. I'm just confused on if that would be the pick that I would have made for the Sparks. I just think that you kind of already have that size, that length, that wingspan with Cameron Brink, who they say is going to be ready by June, hopefully. You still have De'Erica there. I don't know. I probably would have gotten a player that could help me stretch the floor a little bit more than worry so much about a big, if that makes sense. It's not a bad pick. I just don't know if it's the pick I would have made necessarily. So that's kind of where I'm sitting. But a B for me.
Yeah, I would give a solid B for the same exact reasons. Same exact reasons. Well, let's end this grading with the Chicago Sky.
Yeah,
and man, I know we have a lot to say about this. The Chicago Sky definitely, made their pick with HVL, so Haley Van Lith. And they also got reunited for sure. And then they got Aisha Sioka. So Aisha Sioka at I think that was number 10 overall. So they had back-to-back picks. And at first, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of like, why didn't they do HVL first? But looking at the player that, looking at Aisha, they got an excellent international player at the number 10. So I get, I guess they could just be interchangeable. But I'm really excited about Haley Van Lith on many levels. Not only is she reuniting with Angel, but she said in a press conference afterwards that she likes being around Angel because Angel brings out the best in the players that she plays with. And she wants the best to be brought out in her because she doesn't even think that it's happened yet, really, which is so crazy because we've seen how hard she plays, what a dedicated player she is, and how she goes out and leaves it on the floor every night. So I'm excited to see them play together. And I'm excited for the Chicago Sky because they are a young team on the rise. So when you talk about these teams that, they have all the pieces to like win now, but also win later, I feel like, you get a couple more players on that team, you lock that in, and you have that in the Chicago Sky. Not only do you have a new coaching staff, but you also have a young team who is really hungry, and they also get the business of basketball as well. I feel like both, we'll just talk about Angel and Haley Van Lith, like they both get what it is, like the whole entire package of being a WNBA player. So I'm just excited that not only will the basketball have synergy, but also the business minds on this team. But I'm excited for this guy. I think they did a great job in this draft. I give them a solid A for sure.
Same, not too much to add there. I just will say that we've already kind of spoken about how the Sky are an organization that want to win, but they also don't mind developing their talent. A lot of their coaching staff has a player development background. And when you talk about HBL, we saw what the system did for her transferring from LSU to TCU and how that made a world of difference, and how having a coaching staff really invested in her, not only as a player, but as a person, made a huge difference for her. And I think that Sky organization is just that. And I think it's just going to be beneficial to her, not only continuing as she grows in the professional league, but just in this initial year, making that jump, making that transition. So really happy for her. I think this is going to be a great situation. Chicago's a great city. I've been several times, love it. And they keep getting like a nice, popular, Instagram, cool, just young, hip squad in Chicago. And I love that for them. But before we move on to Connecting Changes Everything, real quick, surprises, losers of the draft. I think for me, we were kind of texting about it in our group chat. Deja Kelly not getting drafted at all is kind of a surprise to me. I think that can also be attributed to, we've been talking about the transfer portal and how it can be a gift and a curse. As we know, UNC, she was there for, I think, 3 years, and was on a stage going, what? I think they ended up in the Sweet 16 last year. I think that's as far as they got. Emma, you can fact check me on that. I think it was a Sweet 16, could have been the Elite 8 maybe. Put her on a stage that maybe people now knew her name that weren't familiar with her. Goes to Oregon, doesn't have that same success. The team doesn't have that same success. Although she, as an individual, great stat line, great numbers, the team doesn't have that success, which then kind of trickles down to maybe her value in the draft. And maybe in a sense kind of was a catalyst in maybe her not getting drafted this year. But I was surprised that a team didn't kind of just take into consideration what she is as an overall player, both at Oregon and UNC, and still make that pick. So that was probably my biggest surprise. What about yours?
I will say this with her specifically. We see the draft every year, and we traditionally think of that being the way that people get to the W. Mm-hmm. And yes, it is a way, but we also have to remember that a lot of people get cut too.
That's right.
A lot of people get cut, whether it be first, second, third, whatever round it is, they get cut. And then there are also players who they go and play overseas for a year, or maybe they get picked up in, like an Athletes Unlimited or something. Yeah. And then they come back and they ball out and they're in the WNBA for the rest of their career. And so
Erica Wheeler is a big name that I think of in that regard, that journey.
Absolutely. So while this is a path, there are so many paths to playing in the W, and there's so many stories that aren't necessarily, I got drafted and I went on the team and I stayed there, because there could be somebody who was drafted and they'll get cut in the first week of training camp or whatever the case may be. So nothing is on lock, and it doesn't mean that she won't be. It just means that she wasn't today. And Absolutely. So I just, for every player that either went lower than they thought, weren't drafted, weren't invited, whatever the case may be, that doesn't mean that you are not going to be in the W. I just want to say that. I will say this, Cheyenne Sellers falling to the second round really, really surprised me. But again, it's really about placement, right? And not necessarily even when you get drafted. You could say that for every draft. And so I'll be really excited to see what she does at Golden State. I think they got a great player in the 17th overall pick. And then Tahina Paopao, she went later than I thought she would, just off the strength of, seeing her play for all these years. We just saw her play in the championship. Not to say that, her stat line was incredibly stellar, but it was really, really solid. She's a solid player who's going to give you solid minutes every single night. And she has heart. Now, I'm glad that she went to Atlanta, because I can see her being, it's kind of hard to say this because we don't really know what the makeup of the Atlanta team is going to be, because they're so different this year. But I can see her being a fan favorite in Atlanta for sure. And so even though I was kind of shocked that she went a little bit lower than I thought, I'm glad where she landed as a player. So those would be, my two that I was just a little like, interesting. I also think Bree Hall going to Indiana could be a huge sleeper pick. She's reuniting with Aaliyah Boston. She is fantastic on every single level. Love her as a player. Yes, 8 a.m. Exposure said Breezy will be a great fit in Indy. Defense needed. Absolutely. And I can see her playing alongside so many of the players that are there. I think that team chemistry is going to be on 1,000 this year, and she'll be a part of that. So even though these are players that I would be like, definitely kind of like fell in the draft, I think they were set up for success in a lot of ways in the teams that they ended up on.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, we can't wait to see these players make some noise in the WNBA. And before we close out this special edition of We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T, it is now time for one of our favorite segments, and that is Connecting Changes Everything, presented by AT&T. So, Alicia, we wanted to take this opportunity in this segment to connect with players, whether in the second round or the third round, sleeper picks, if you will, that could really make it big if they make that final roster. And even if they don't make that final roster this time around, could just really make a splash in the WNBA when it does ultimately happen for them. So, I'll start it off. I'll keep it short and sweet. You know that I've been a big fan of Lucy Olsen. We've had her on the show. I got to speak to her at Big Ten Media Day. And I think, listen, Iowa had a huge task in front of them, and that is showing people, look, Iowa basketball is more than just Caitlin Clark. And obviously, it fell short for them in the tournament. They didn't go as far as they wanted to. But I think Lucy Olsen's a great teammate to have. Outside of being a phenomenal player, I think people sometimes underestimate just the aspect and the importance of being a phenomenal teammate. And she has that. She wants everyone around her to win. She wants everyone around her to be better. And that type of energy is infectious. And I think that it's more important than ever to have people like that in your locker room. All the other stuff you can teach, but you can't teach people how to be good people. And she's a good person. And right now, the Mystics have her. And if that's ultimately where she ends up and stays, I just think it's going to contribute to that culture that they're building in Washington. And, I can't wait to see rather what she's going to do in the league.
Definitely cannot wait to see what she does in the league. And another player that I can't wait to see what they do. Man, I mean, Kaitlyn Chen, we talked about her with UConn and the impact that she was making on the floor every single time she went out there on the floor. She's a huge reason why they got the chip, for sure. She is a hard working player. She's very smart. She has a high basketball IQ. She's resilient. She's definitely played an important role, like I said, in UConn, in their success. She's been in so many different systems and she's adapted to the systems. She's really scrappy. She's a defender, an efficient shooter. She's had this like quiet confidence that I absolutely love about her because she's just going to go out there and give you solid minutes with heart every single night. And so I truly cannot wait to see what she does for the Golden State Valkyries. And I also want to say I'm really, really just excited for people in the Asian community as well to have that representation. In 2023, 1.4% of the league was Asian. And not only on the Valkyries, do you have Kaitlyn Chen, who is representing the Asian community, but you also have Natalie Nakase, the head coach, who is the first Asian American head coach in WNBA history. And as we know, for us, Ashley, representation is so important for us to see people who look like us. Absolutely. And I'm just, it needs to increase on every level, right? For all the teams, but also I'm just really excited to see that there are going to be little girls and little boys and just people in general from the Asian community who have both Kaitlyn and Natalie Nakase, and also the other Asian American players, or just Asian players that are playing in the WNBA, to see like that representation increasing is something that I'm so happy to see. And it doesn't fall completely all on their shoulders, but just the fact that there's representation, not only in a coach, but also a player for this team, is just phenomenal to me. And so not only am I excited to see what she does for the team basketball wise, but just the representation. I'm just so happy to see it, and look forward to, giving Kaitlyn, makes the team and everything, which I totally see her doing. I look forward to seeing her playing in that, Golden State Valkyries jersey.
Love it.
Absolutely. Well, Ashley, listen, it was a draft for sure. And let's give our final thoughts, on what kind of like a mini look ahead from what we saw tonight to what we're going to see in the WNBA season. What do you think this rookie class is going to bring this year?
I think the biggest thing this rookie class is going to bring is foundation. And what I mean by that is foundational pieces that these organizations can continue to build with. It's very rare to come into a draft and automatically be WNBA ready and automatically make a difference. I think about it, even in terms of the NBA, it's very rare. Not everybody comes into the league and is D-Wade. There's a transition period, and it's about having an organization that's willing to go through that transition period with you. But just know that if you plant the seeds, the flowers will ultimately grow. And I think that a lot of these draftees are seeds. And they're seeds that this organization, if they nurture them correctly, if they teach them correctly, if they surround them with the veteran leadership and take time to really develop them, they're not only going to develop into great individual athletes, but they're also going to develop into great pieces that this organization can continue to build upon. And, I'm excited to see how they grow, how they learn. And, we'll have this conversation this time next year, and probably I'll say the same thing and feel the same way. But those are my final thoughts about the draft.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And 8 a.m. Exposure said, how does this class stack up to last year's class? Paige is pretty lit. No, and I actually don't think you can compare them. I'm not going to do it either. I don't think you could compare them. But what I will say is, I think we are going to see a player or players in this draft class that we're going to look back. And I said this on the last show, that we're going to look back and say, dang, they went at this, they were drafted here, and the impact that they have on the league is so great. I think this is a draft class where some of the biggest stars that we're going to see were kind of overlooked, and they weren't necessarily drafted as high. And so for this, it's kind of like a sleeper, except for, obviously like Paige and everybody, but it's almost like a sleeper draft class, in that I feel like we're going to see more production than we even could imagine out of the players that are in this draft class. It's going to surprise, I really feel like, us in the future. And, with that said, I'll just move into, who, like, everyone's saying, okay, Paige is going to be Rookie of the Year. And it very well could be. We don't know the future. But is there another player that you think could be Rookie of the Year? I'm just going to say Dominique Malonga. I feel like she has the room, the space, the time, the talent, and everything to be like Rookie of the Year. But is there any other player besides those two that you could see, stepping up and doing that?
I don't know if I've even thinking that far ahead. But to your point, if anyone can kind of decrown or dethrone Paige for that, it could be Dominique. Like I said, she's a unicorn. A lot of the talent she possesses, you can't teach. And again, I think that Seattle will be a better team than Dallas, and maybe that will put her on a different stage. But Paige Bueckers is Paige Bueckers, and she comes in with a stage of her own. So I think that only time will tell.
Yeah. It's the way too early predictions. Kind of unfair. It's kind of unfair to do that. But what I will say is, regardless, we know that we are going to have an excellent season of the WNBA, and we're looking forward to it. So make sure that you tap in all the ways that you can. Social, make sure that you subscribe, do all of the things, because you're going to want to get all of the alerts that we have for all of these shows coming up, because this season is going to be amazing, Ashley. So make sure that you tap in. We're going to have a QR code at the end of this that you can scan and get all the ways to connect with us. So make sure you do that. And Ashley, another WNBA draft under our belt. This is the second one we've done for this show, and I thought it was a really good one. Really excited that all of you stayed so late to be with us. Again, we apologize for coming on late, but Ashley had a little business to take care of because she's in high demand with HQ. So she had to talk a little basketball before she came on and talked a little basketball. So but thank you guys so much for being with us tonight. It was another amazing draft, and tap in, because we have a show at least once a week. But if you don't tap in, you won't get the alerts to come back with us right here at We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.